Hey guys, Justin here, back with another video. Wanted to take a look at the top 10 movies of the 1990s. Now, of course, all these top 10 lists are subjective, so this list is a top 10 movies based on, I think, cultural impact. There will be some honorable mentions at the end. These are not to be confused with the best movies of the 1990s, which I will do a separate video for. Um, some honorable mentions for best films that won't make it into the top 10 are things like Girl Interrupted and The Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio. But let's jump right into the top 10 movies of the 1990s. And I'll also give you either a buzzword or a name association for each film. Let's start. So, one of the top movies of the 1990s was Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. And Spielberg, I'm going to say, is the buzzword or the thing, the honorable mention about Jurassic Park. It launched a lot of careers, including one of my favorites, Laura Dern. Um, I believe Jeff Goldblum as well. So, such a culturally relevant film. Another top film of the 1990s is Clueless. Um, Amy Heckerling, is the name that pops into mind. I think she wrote and I believe directed also. Um, Clueless brought cool. I was born in a Michigan town. Clueless brought the idea of cool to my generation in the 90s. It was a paradigm shift in my own head. Um, and Alicia Silverstone, obviously, and Stacey Dash, who are, Stacey Dash is obviously a culturally relevant person. A next top film of the 1990s by impact is The Matrix. When I think of The Matrix, immediately I think the Wachowski brothers, the Wachowskis. Um, Obviously, it was a huge vehicle for Keanu Reeves to continue a hot streak of his career. Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie Ann Moss, but the first word that pops to my mind is the Wachowskis. Next film is on a lot of top 10 lists for the 1990s, and that is Fight Club. First word that pops into mind for me for Fight Club is Ed Norton. Seriously one of the greatest actors of our generation, of my generation. Brad Pitt as well. It was another vehicle for him to continue another hot streak, and kind of give him some serious acting chops and credibility. He was kind of on a streak at that time, um, of more serious films. Um, yeah, I may do another separate video about some Brad Pitt films because he's really been in some um, interesting ones, including Interview with the Vampire, which is an easy honorable mention for a top 90s film. Next, we have Toy Story. And what pops into my mind immediately, and I know it's different for some other people, but it is Tom Hanks for me. I think Buzz Lightyear and Tim Allen, for some people, it resonates more. So it could be Buzz Lightyear or, Tim Allen's character, but Tom Hanks, the name, pops up for me. And maybe one of the reasons it did as I was making this list is that, the next movie on my list also is a Tom Hanks film. I think he is the only person on my top 10 lists of impact films that has two films. And the next one you may be able to guess is Forrest Gump. And that splits two distinctions. And you know what? I have to take that back. Because Tom Hanks is the first name that comes to mind, but Steven Spielberg is the second name that comes to mind with Forrest Gump. So Spielberg will make at least two appearances on our list. The next film is a bit more fun, Terminator 2. And obviously the name that leaves our lips is Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, this was a reboot of an 80s robot film. And it just took it took that 80s machine gun drama to the next level. The story was thought out, the characters were developed, the acting was on a good level. So Terminator 2, I think, did a lot to redefine the caliber, the quality of the action film. And Arnold Schwarzenegger and his accent obviously became hugely culturally relevant. The next film was also very culturally relevant, and that is Independence Day. 1996 is Independence Day. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is obviously Will Smith. And he continues to this day to be, a cultural phenomenon. So Will Smith makes an appearance on the top 10 list. We've got just two more to go, guys. The next film that I think is one of the top films of the 1990s is Home Alone. And I'm going to go ahead and say the Home Alone franchise, Home Alone and Home Alone 2, because Home Alone 2, in my opinion, is my favorite. Lost in New York is my absolute favorite. You've got your Joe Pesci, you've got Macaulay Culkin, obviously, and a slew of other. Catherine O'Hara, who's one of my favorite comedic actresses. So you've got some and she's on Schitt's Creek now on Netflix, and Crackle, I think, is the network, and it's it's one of the top 5 TV shows that are out now. Number 1 on my list, and these have not been in any kind of order, but I think a lot of people will agree that this was the most culturally impactful film of the 1990s. And maybe before I get there, let's drop some honorable mentions so that, the list just doesn't seem incomplete, or I don't seem, out of touch. Some serious honorable mentions for top 10 films of the 1990s are Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I've actually drawn a blank just now, thinking of some of but I was telling you before, Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio, so he, could have possibly made a second appearance on the list, is also one of the best. But in terms of impact, let's take a look at Disney and say The Lion King. Let's say Aladdin. Those were hugely impactful films. Depending on who you were, different films will have a different impact on you, but I would say, The Lion King is probably easily could fit one of these top 10 lists. Then you have easy candidates like The Usual Suspects, Reservoir Dogs. Some say it's awful, but some could say Showgirls was an impactful film of the 1990s. Kids, with Chloe Sevigny. There's so many, and I'm going to make quite a few videos about this, but getting back to the number 1 on my list is Titanic. And I think the name that resonates with most is Leonardo DiCaprio. It's a James Cameron film, but Leonardo DiCaprio was really on a hot streak after Romeo and Juliet and going on to do The Island. He took some time off after Titanic was such a whirlwind and then came back. Started with The Island and then did another, run of fantastic films. But Titanic, I think, was one of the had longevity. It went on and on and on and on for months and re-released. And I remember seeing it one year, and then the summer of the following year, it was still in theaters. And it's a thing I think we all check out on TNT and whatever when it comes on. It is a well-crafted, well crafted, well made, well written, and well executed film. Um, I think Leonardo DiCaprio was already an A-list actor, but it gave him that blockbuster film. Um, I think it was a huge film for many, many, many people, but Leonardo DiCaprio, forefront among them. Drop some of your top 10 in terms of impact. I'm going to make another another video about the best films of the 1990s. And we'll argue, there's an Uma Thurman film that I'll throw in there. Mulholland Drive. There's a lot that we'll talk about in terms of honorable mentions and on that list. But in terms of impact, share your top 10. Can't wait to see what you guys have on your list. Please also like, comment, and subscribe. Give me some encouragement to keep making videos. And I'll join you guys in the next video. Ciao.